Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Tony Fapiano coming to you from the studio at Guilford Community Television, which normally that would be a very bland statement. But this year, after the pandemic and the years of the 18 months or so that this studio has been grossly underutilized, I would say it's a very important statement to say that we're actually back here and we're doing this. And what makes this today even more important is my guest. And my guest is Debbie Peluse, and Debbie is the chairman of the Guilford Fair Parade Committee. I want to get that correct because I'm so used to saying Citizens Day Parade, which is what it was for many years. So it's the Guilford Fair Parade, and you're the chairman of that. So let's start with what would make you want to do that?
Well, I saw in April that the parade was canceled. And at that time, things were pretty closed up, and it's like, oh, that's really too bad. But I had noted that the Guilford Fair itself was going to be going on. And so as things got better in the subsequent weeks and more things were happening outside and different events, I thought, well, wait a minute, why can't we have a parade? So
probably a lot of people said that. Why aren't we doing a parade? The question is, why are you doing the parade?
Well, I called the selectman's office to see if there was a reason I didn't know about, that it was not being able to be held. And then I called the Rotary and found that it was Nancy Bishop who had done it in the past. And she said she didn't want to do it anymore. The Rotary had decided not to do it. But she has many good electronic files as to how it should be set up. So I said,
she gave you all the infrastructure.
Yes, she did.
To build your committee and do everything with that.
Yes.
And actually, much of what she has was given to her by the previous chair people, which were Stephen Page, who you know, and Frank Ivkovic, and they did it for 35 years.
Oh wow!
Can you imagine?
No.
35 And you know, I got a story today from Stephen. I actually spoke to Stephen, and I said, "How'd you actually guys get involved 35 years, which would now be 37 or 38 years ago?" Well, the people that ran it before them were actually Gil Lombard, who was with Guilford Savings Bank at the time, and I can't figure. Dale Friedag was his name, and the two of them, they ran it for a couple of years because they were local business people. And what they did apparently was they didn't want to do it anymore. So they had a bunch of notes. They walked into Frank's package store. They dropped it on the counter and they said, "You're going to do the parade. You have a vested interest. You have a business right on the green. The parade takes place right here." So they did. And for 35 years, those guys did it. And I give them an awful lot of credit. Just like I'm going to give you a lot of credit now for picking up the pieces. Because if you didn't, I mean, we're taping this now on June 8th. You read in April, just a little while ago.
Well, it was actually 2 weeks ago that we formed this committee.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
it's happening very quickly.
You know, it's a funny thing though. Once you put the right people in the right places on this, I think the pieces kind of fall in for you. And certainly there's going to be glitches. It's your first year. You can't expect to be 100%. I don't think. Maybe you can. Maybe
we'll find out.
Maybe you set the bar really high. But you know, there's going to be something. There's got to be something. Next year you'll pick up with that, and I'm assuming you want to do it the second year.
We'll find out.
Yeah, but I would suggest that at some point going down the line, you decide to not want to do it. To me, it would be a shame for the parade to go away.
Well, that's exactly what I thought. I mean, I have lived in Guilford for 50 years. So my children and now my grandchildren have seen the parade, been in the parade, and I think that if it wasn't held for 2 years, that maybe it wouldn't get picked up. I think that was another reason.
Exactly. Now, last year, obviously, there was a reason.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't put 30 little kids on the back of a flat truck and expect it to not, there's no social distancing. Right. And so that was a problem. And the governor was going to dictate that anyway, who could do a parade and who couldn't, and what it was going to look like. But the parade, according to Stephen today, when I spoke to him, he said the parade started in 1969, was the first Citizens Day parade. Prior to that, the Guilford Fair was on the green.
Right.
So they had their own little parade on the green. Once the fair committee moved back to the fairgrounds, or to the fairgrounds, was 1969. That's when Gil Lombard and Dale apparently decided, let's do a parade. And that's when it started. And it ran every year.
Yes.
It ran every year. There was, in fact, I remember one year it was torrential downpour.
Oh, yeah, I went to that one.
Yeah, and there was only a few people showed
That's
up for the
right.
parade, but you know
That's
what?
right.
They
It was
marched.
a parade.
They marched along.
Right.
I mean, it's if you like a parade,
Yep.
what's the difference? You know.
Well, it was also a day off from school.
Yeah.
That stopped in the early 1970s, I think.
All right, let's start with
Okay.
the school floats and so forth. Have you actually made contact?
Well, as I said, Nancy had terrific information that she passed along, and that included the emails all set to go for, or the addresses for all the people that have participated in the past. So a letter went out announcing that
That's this
yes,
letter
that
that
the
I got.
parade, yes, announcing
this
that
one,
there
right?
is a parade and it will be happening, and that went out 3 or 4 days ago
Right.
to over 200 names.
Okay.
Some of which are probably.
And who were those
duplicate-
people on that
well,
list of 200?
Well, it's the schools, it's the fife and drum corps, it's the bands, the businesses that have participated, and because it's such a long list, our committee did not try to edit it. I decided it was better to have duplicates, and we found one, for example, today. One of the fife and drum corps they had 3 addresses. Well, one person responded, so okay, I know I can take those 2 out, but I didn't know which of those 3 was the current person.
Yeah, and the fife and drums add that little something.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, especially on a colonial town like Guilford, and yeah, no question about it.
So the schools got the
Yeah,
same
now the schools,
information.
you have participation from all the elementary schools, the 4 elementaries.
Well, the school information went to the PTO people at each of the schools.
Any
because-
response?
Well, it's literally been 2 days, so no, we haven't gotten the information.
So if they're watching,
Yes.
what should they do?
If they're watching and
Let's
have
say they
not-
missed their email.
Oh, well,
Could
that's
send
one-
another
that's
email, right?
Well, yes, and there will be there would be another email after we see. Oh, okay, this number of people have already applied. Oh, and these other people haven't. Yes, certainly in a few
Okay.
weeks another one will go out.
And but you haven't gotten any. It's just too short a period of time. I get that, and you know they don't have a lot of time either because school starts
Right.
weeks before this parade, and they have to line up a truck,
Right.
a flatbed,
Right.
decorations, and all that.
Yes.
What is your theme this year?
Moving ahead. Oh, let's see. Yes. Make sure I have it exactly. Moving ahead to the future.
Okay, say it again.
Moving ahead to the future.
Right. So that makes a lot of sense, considering the 18 months that we've just been through.
Well, yes, we really think that so many people have had difficulties. They may be ill themselves. They may have had deaths in the family. They've had struggles, all kinds of struggles. But we have made it through, and we want to look to the future and really concentrate on things are opening up. We can celebrate, and this parade always is one of the bigger events in Guilford, for sure.
As far as I'm concerned, on GCTV, it was always the most watched program. Was the parade. I mean, we never know who watches anything. No, we don't know who's watching this right now. And we won't know if it's 10 people or 10,000 people. But the parade I know because a lot of people comment on it all the time. And I'll tell you a quick story, which I've told before. I did it every year for many years. One year we had plans to be in Vermont the weekend of the parade and the fair. So we were in Vermont with 2 other couples, and I pulled into a gas station to get gas, and I'm pumping gas in my van, and a whole bunch of motorcycle guys pull in, right? Probably a bunch of lawyers and accountants, right? They all pull in. The guy's putting gas in his motorcycle, and he looks at me and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm pumping gas." So how am I going to watch the parade when I get home? So in other words, what am I doing there and not here? So we know people watch it. We just, there's no way you can calculate that. But you're going to get comments from people that are going to say they've seen this. And they're going to want to ask you a question or help you or volunteer. Are you looking for volunteers?
Oh, yes. As I said, we've only met, the committee has only met twice. And so we have some of the core jobs have been set, but we certainly will have other volunteer needs, and some probably we don't know what they are yet because we haven't done the parade before. But so if someone wants to volunteer, I want to make sure I give the exact correct address. We have an email address, which is Guilford Fair Parade, the number 1, and at gmail.com. So if someone has not heard about the announcement or how to apply, they can email that. They also could look on our website, which is guilfordfairparade.com.
And what are they going to find if they go to the website?
Well, the website will have.
Are you still building that, or is it?
No, we have the website. It has the application and details about if you're a musical group, what else we need, or if you have a vehicle, we have to have insurance. So those details are there.
I was going to ask you what the requirements are for somebody to participate.
Right.
Whether a business or a band or a school or whatever. What are you looking for from me?
If it's a person or a small group, I'm trying to think of like the land trust or something like that. Everybody's just walking. Then the application's very simple. We want to know how many people, because when the parade route is mapped out, we have to know what amount of space on the road does this group need.
Right.
If there are trucks or cars involved, then it leads you through what insurance information we need and so forth.
And who takes the liability there? If somebody gets hurt?
Well,
never has. Never, God forbid. But
so everybody who has a vehicle, the vehicle has to be insured, and there also is overall insurance that the committee will make sure that we have. And that's one of the little details that I know we need insurance. From our list yesterday, I know a couple people we have to contact who've done it in the past to find out exactly what we need in the insurance.
So if you talk to Stephen,
right,
or Frank Ivkovic,
yeah,
and those guys were phenomenal for 35 years, and the reason they gave it up, they probably were burned out, but beyond that, they both retired. Stephen, left Page Hardware, and Frank has got his daughter running the package store. So, so that made sense that they would give it up at that point. I talked to Stephen today. He sounded like, well, he kind of misses it.
Well, he can volunteer. I could probably find a job.
And he probably knows a little something about the little ins and outs. He said the biggest concern that they ever had was weather. Other than that, they just felt that the infrastructure was in place. Once you positioned people, and you had your assembly route set up, and you had the participation of the police, obviously, it just sort of all worked out. Weather was always their biggest concern.
Well, and some of the people who have worked on it the 5 years that Nancy did it, Nancy Bishop, have come forward and said, oh, okay, this is the job I did. I certainly can either do it this year or show someone else how to do it, which is a tremendous help.
Sure. Now you're also going to have politicians use this as I've interviewed Blumenthal, I've interviewed Rosa DeLauro. Over the years, anybody running for office, somehow they find that microphone.
Well, they're on the list. The Democratic and Republican groups, and also our elected officials are all invited.
Right.
So
they're going to be at the front,
letter.
and they're going to Okay, but they do what they do is they actually try to get a word in before the parade actually steps off, and they find me to do that, and that's fine. I like to do that. And with Blumenthal, there's more than one Blumenthal, I'm convinced, because he shows up at every photo op in Connecticut. So that can't be one person doing that. No, but that's the way he is. He gets around, Okay, so in terms of the what in specific would be important for people to know right now if they haven't received this? What kind of information is here?
Well, that letter explains the website and what a group would need. For example, another thing I forgot was about the floats. It specifies what you can and can't do. For example, you can't throw candy from a float. You can.
What?
I know. No, I know.
I like the candy.
And for many years, I think that has been the case. But it's specified tells you in details in the website.
Who made that rule?
I don't know.
Because it's always throwing candy.
Well, no, people walk. The people who are walking with the float can give out the candy.
Okay,
but,
I get it. All right. Hope they find me.
So yeah, again, questions to the email address would be fine.
Who would you not allow to participate?
I don't.
Is there any restriction on anybody?
I don't know. I haven't.
I mean, if they're a business or a person or an organization or a
Yep.
nonprofit.
All of the above.
Yeah, all of the above.
Now we're not having one specific grand marshal this year. We've decided that again, the huge efforts that so many people made have to be acknowledged. And so here again, I'm going to read the categories.
Okay.
We've decided that we would like one person from each of these 12 categories to march, because all kinds of people, individuals, businesses, nonprofits, lots and lots of people did so many things to make life more livable during the last year.
So what do you have?
We have educator, businesses.
You're having one for each category?
With each of these categories, we've decided, like, for example, the superintendent's office, we're asking them to choose one person to represent educators.
Education.
For-profit businesses, nonprofits, businesses, volunteers, science and technology, farmers, police, healthcare, the post office, town departments, the fire department, and EMTs.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
So where do you stick them into the parade?
Well,
Do it individually, or you put them all on the back of a float?
No, I think that part of that depends on if they can all march. Then we're thinking we'd have them march like after the color guard, in the beginning of the parade, where the grand marshal usually marches, I believe. If it turns out that it would work better to have them on a vehicle, we might do that. Obviously, they can't fit in one car.
Now you're going to have to line up vehicles.
Well, no, I don't think we'd have 12 different vehicles. I think, but again, we've only had 2 meetings.
Yeah,
and
okay.
We just decided yesterday what these categories.
All that
are
aside, that is a great idea. That's a fantastic idea that you're doing that, and I think that it just adds that much more interest in the overall concept of the parade. And the parade is interesting anyway, and the music and the kids and the schools and the this and that, and the guy that cleans a chimney will be there, and I mean everybody, right? So the bottom line is, again, I give you all the credit in the world, because if the parade went away, I think it would have been a sin. It would have been terrible if we did not have a parade. Give us that website again one more time.
Oh, the website is guilfordfairparade.com.
Okay.
And the email is guilfordfairparade1, just the number, digit, @gmail.com.
Okay. And you're comfortable with the name Guilford Fair Parade as opposed to Citizens Day Parade?
Well,
which is what it was for a lot of years.
I double-checked that with Nancy Bishop before we went ahead with that too. Because yes, it had been the Citizens
for
Guilford
60 years.
I thought it was the Guilford Fair Parade. Well, I'm not sure. It went from one to the other, but.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the intent in the very beginning, when they gave it the name Citizens Day Parade, is that it was for any citizen, anybody, and I think that's what they had. They had people that were just nobody marching in the parade. I mean, not that they were nobody, but they didn't really represent any category or any business or nonprofit. So, but you're probably going to get. I mean, right there, you've already mentioned those individuals. That's a lot of. But if you call that one entry in the parade, you're probably going to get about 100 altogether.
Well, I looked back in the notes that Nancy had, and between 2015 and 2018, it was between 68 and 76 marching units. There were 95 units in 2019.
And usually that's about what it is. Yeah.
And I'm thinking maybe it increased in 2019, and if there's been no parade and people are really excited about a parade, there may be
Maybe
even
more,
more.
yeah.
And
But there's no time limit.
there's no time limit. We don't know whether there is a limit from the police department's point of view.
Your problem's going to be on the
that.
assembly route. Where do you position them on Whitfield Street and on Water Street? And because then you have to get them to merge together to get up Whitfield and then over to Broad and so forth.
So
But,
if there are any limitations, that's a good reason to send an application in early.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think if you actually limited it, or you told somebody, sorry, we're full, I think that my opinion would be that that's not necessarily the best thing.
no.
Somehow,
no,
if you could fit
no,
them in
no, we don't.
somewhere, some way,
No,
or
we're
you know,
certainly
whatever.
not trying
And
to do that.
yeah, because you're going to have Girl Scouts, Brownies, and whatever the group is before the Brownies. You know, that's
Daisies.
whatever. That's kind of like one thing, but it isn't. It's three, and there's a lot of kids, a lot of parents that look forward to their kids marching in the parade. As you know, you had children and grandchildren, and you know whatever. It's great. I just think it's fantastic that you're doing this, and
Well,
you know, I mean, obviously, it would make sense to have your committee composed of people, or comprised of people that might have a long-term goal of being the chairman. You might not want to be a chairman for 25 years.
I'm too old to do that.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, maybe you do
Right,
want to do it
right,
for
yeah.
25. But so if you're grooming your replacement along the way, you know, which Frank and Steven never did. They were the two guys. You know, they had Woody Page too for a while, was involved.
Well, shall I tell you the names of the people on the
Yeah.
steering committee? So I have a core group that Chris Fapioni, Bob and Dee Jacob, Lauren Gunning-Smith, Nicole White, and Catherine Kiernan. So they have been the ones so far. We've been delegating from there, and I'm sure that each of us will then, you know, have other people that need to do specific jobs. But it's worked pretty well to have 4 or 5 of us at a meeting to bounce ideas off. If it's
Yeah.
too big, that's too
Yeah,
big.
and any one of them, whatever their individual responsibility is, they may need a subcommittee to
Yeah,
help them
they might,
get, you know, so there's where you're going to build with volunteers, hopefully,
Yeah.
you know, that contact you. If somebody wants to call you, are you taking phone calls on this?
Yes, I can take phone calls.
And that number would be what?
203-430-5701.
Okay, and that number would be,
That's my phone.
that's your phone. Okay, so, I mean, you don't want to be inundated with phone calls. That's why the website's
right,
important. There's a lot of information there. It answers a lot of their questions. And I saw you have a frequently asked question
Oh, yes,
link also.
yes, there's one of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you get questions from the community, you can add that to your frequently asked questions,
Yes,
right?
we can. Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
that makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world. But again, I look back at the thing that is very important, and I haven't looked at the application. Years ago, Stephen added a place where every entry could write a paragraph about what their group is, to be read by whoever is doing the parade on GCTV.
That is still there.
They're still going to do that.
That is-
Okay, that's very important because obviously, you know, whoever is doing the commentary doesn't know every group, and you want to get it right. And I'm trying to think of there was, like I said, there was the Girl Scouts, the Brownies, the Daisies, and then there was a group called Just Hatched.
Oh,
So I said, well, they must be the kids that are too young to be in this group. They just hatched. No, it's a store. What do I know? But that's, you know, so that, from that year on, we added that paragraph where people could explain what they actually do. And that's very
still there.
important. And it has to be brief because they go by pretty quickly sometimes. So you want to make sure you get it and you're discussing that group, and the next group isn't actually part of your discussion. So, but that's critical as well. And I think that, again, once you do this the first year, piece of cake. You might do it 25 years. What does your family say about you doing this?
Oh, Oh, they're very excited, very, very happy that I decided
are.
to do it because they also would like it to be done.
Are they going to help you?
Well, yeah, there's been help. My husband has helped me proofread things. My daughter.
So your marriage is
my daughter-
intact.
Yes, yes.
This is not going to affect you personally.
No.
Okay. All right.
And my daughter has helped because she is in business in Guilford, so she has some information that I wouldn't necessarily have.
And she has access to those old guys too.
And more computer knowledge than I have. So
Who's doing that? Who's doing your website of that committee?
Well, the website Nicole White.
She's monitoring that. And
Well, no, she's the one that's helping make sure that it's running the way we want it to run. And so then there are 2 or 3 people that are going to be taking the information from the website and setting up a database of who's coming, what information we still need from people, that kind of thing.
Okay, I also want to thank Shannon and Gale for doing camera for us today. And Shannon, let me ask you, have you been keeping track of time? She's going to check on the camera right now.
We're at 26 minutes.
26, that's about, I wanted to keep it under 30. Is there anything that we did not discuss that you think is important for people at home to know right now?
I'm not sure we said the time and date of the parade.
Well, I already messed that up once today.
So the parade is at 10 o'clock on Saturday, September 18th, and it steps off from the corner of Boston Street and Whitfield Street, goes around the green, so it goes around 3 sides of the green, and then goes out Boston Street, and it will end at
Lovers Lane.
Lane. Most floats then go on to Calvin Leet School. I think the tractors, all go down to the fairgrounds. And the application deadline is September 1st. I think that's
Okay, are you going to be awarding prizes
Oh,
for best of this, best of that? and-
only for the school floats.
For the school, okay.
floats. The bands get paid. The larger ones get paid more than the smaller ones, but
The bands and the fife and drums
yes,
and
yes.
all the music.
All the musical groups.
All the musical
yes,
groups.
yes.
Okay. One suggestion I would suggest is that if you're going to give awards, establish who gets what before the parade steps off. And if you're going to present an award, the time to do that is when the fire department is going by, because there's so many vehicles. It takes a while. So, that's a good time for you to get somebody there who represents the recipient and give them, whatever you're going to give them.
Yes, I believe all the
That's a good time to do it.
All of it, the judging is done beforehand.
Yeah, and Saturday, September
18th.
18th. I don't know why I kept saying 17th, but September 18th.
Right. 10
What's the
o'clock.
deadline on getting an application in?
September 1st.
September 4th.
It'd be much better if the earlier things are done, the better.
Yeah.
Because then the committee has to make sure that we have a parade route, not a parade route, a parade order set up and let the people know so that they can find it.
Okay.
And all those particular details are on the website and the frequently asked questions.
Okay. But you know what happens? People read, they go to the website, they read, but they still want to talk to the boss. And you're the boss.
Well, I guess so. And there's also the email address, and because I and at least 2 others have access to that email, so we would be
there you go.
monitoring.
So you'll be able
email.
to respond. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
We're very, very happy that this is all happening. Everybody that I've talked to is very excited
Thrilled,
for this, and we really are so proud of our town during the pandemic, as we're coming out of the pandemic, and I'm sure we will be proud of them going forward.
Okay. Now we're taping this program on June 8th, 2021, and so that gives us June, July, August, and part of September. There may be other information that you want to impart to the community between now and then. And if you do, you have access to this if you want to.
Okay.
Okay? And we can set you up with that as well. Just let me know and we'll take care of that. Other than that, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
I know it's going to be fantastic, and I know that you're going to be 110% successful.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you very much for having
And
me.
your committee too. I mean, you obviously that's very important to this all taking shape and moving forward. So with that, I want to say thank you very much, Debbie, and you actually should be one of those people getting on that float for you're an essential worker now. Do you realize that? You realize what you're contributing a psychological uplift that we might not have had.
Well,
So
I hope so.
You got it.
We needed a beautiful day.
all right, Shannon, thank you so much for doing this. And anybody has any questions, you've got the website. She's already mentioned a phone number, and you also can email them. And if anything else comes up, you know where to go. All right, with that, I thank you so much for being here, and thank you at home for watching.